Hello, welcome back to the Po2 podcast. I'm Jay.
And I'm Amber.
Today we'll be reviewing the newest episode of the Charm reboot, season 4, episode 4, Nipples.
Ripples.
Oh, what did I say?
You said nipples.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You are about to have the most soothing day.
Can we just try to have fun?
Someone poisoned the water lily. It's shooting thorns.
You try to relax for a day?
So, what did you think of this episode?
Oh, God, there's a lot to think about. Overall, I liked it. And the first thing I thought, I would say 5-10 minutes in, was that this is so camp. This is so gay. This is so camp. This is so gay.
What you say? Gay queen. Oh my God, okay.
I feel like they're pandering to the gay audience now.
What was it that made you think that?
It was the fact that they went to a spa day, that they had a, obviously gay host that was a merman. And he was just, I mean, I don't want to stereotype and say that he's gay, but I mean, come on. He really came off as the white RuPaul. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And just like a little, I don't know how to explain it. I wish I wrote notes. But there was just a lot of moments here and there where I was like, oh my God, this is written by a gay person. Who wrote this episode?
So this episode was written by Tommy Cook and Caroline Townsend. God, that's a mouthful to say.
Carolyn
Yeah.
Townsend?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
I just feel like there was a lot of cultural references, especially it's like of 90s things, 80s and 90s things. Like, for example, there's yet another reference to Little Shop of Horrors. That's what Maggie calls the spa after the plant thing in the spring got turned evil.
mm,
What was it? What was a
the
flower?
water lily, I think it was called.
Yeah, like the water lily started shooting spores, and she called the whole place a Little Shop of Horrors. They had a similar reference in the Scary Poppins episode where the tentacle thing was called Seymour. And then also the host's name is Arnold, I think, because I think his name was Arnold because Mel was like, "Hey Arnold," which is like the name of a cartoon here in the States that's really popular. Just little things like that just made me laugh. It kind of reminded me, because I watch a lot of Drag Race. It's very similar to that. Like the humor was just too, it was not very subtle. But I like it. I like the energy.
Mm. So this episode, we got to see it kind of followed on from last week's episode with Maggie. And I thought it was kind of odd that Mel was sort of, she wasn't too pressed that Maggie had come home and clearly been arrested. She didn't seem to like bothered about it. She didn't seem to like press her about where she'd been or what she'd been up to, which I thought would be something that she would have done previously. Um, in this episode, we got to see Mel use her new power. She's got a new ability, and what she tries to do is she tries to use her time freezing power to stop the clock. And she can't access it for whatever reason. She can't tap into it. She can't use it. And instead of freezing the clock, she makes it disappear. And we find out at the end of the episode that she actually moved the clock through time. What did you think of that?
I think that my original theory is starting to come true. I think what they're trying to do is that they're going to evolve her power from stopping and freezing time and aging things like she did in season 1. I think that they're going to evolve that into time travel. And it looks like I'm right, because now she moved one object through time. I think the natural progression is that she's going to move herself or other people through time and backward.
I do miss her time freezing power, and I am slightly concerned that this time kind of travel power, which is looks like we're going to get in the next episode, could potentially create some problems down the line. I just feel like the girls are a bit too overpowered. I feel like their powers are they're too strong, and I hope that the writers will kind of figure out a way around that so that the girls don't, because what's to stop them from going back in time and erasing someone from or something from existence completely.
Mhm. That's exactly what I said about Michaela's power, because manifestation itself is a very powerful thing. It could become too convenient. So that's why I think that whatever powers, however their powers develop, there's going to be some sort of limitation or something that happens is going to um, keep them from using their powers the way that they want to. And they're probably going to say something like, because it's too powerful, she can't just do it willy-nilly. She needs to do it for an emergency. And that could be what leads up to going back in the past to saving her baby. They're probably going to tell her, well, yes, you can go back in time, but you shouldn't, because you'll mess with things too much. Maybe she'll be like, I want to go save Macy. And then they're going to say, well, if you go save Macy, then we'll never get to know Michaela or whatever. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways they can give them that power, but not have them use it so that it's not so convenient. Because technically anything, if she has the power to go back in time, what's stopping her from like going back every episode and just taking care of like the monsters really easily, or saving every victim and innocent, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things I was looking forward to this episode because
Were
they
you?
kind yeah, because they kind of teased that there was going to be a merman in this episode.
There
So in
was, kind
so
of.
in my mind, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be this really hot, buff guy with like long hair and muscles, and he's going to have a really nice tail. And what did we
Nope.
get?
White RuPaul.
A middle-aged white man with no hair and glasses. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, literally.
We didn't really get to see the merman part of him either. We saw a glimpse of it.
Yeah, we saw like a slimy, like
You
tail
know,
thing.
you know what this season, what they're doing with magical creatures this season is reminding me what they did with demons in the OG Charmed, where they stopped doing prosthetic effects as much and just started to make the demons look human.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's what they're doing this season, because they're introducing so many types of they're introducing so many kinds of creatures this season. It's ridiculous how every episode there's like two or three more creatures and monsters introduced. And part of me is I like it, but another part of me is like, where the hell were all these monsters before? Like, yes, they existed in previous seasons of the reboot, but not to this extent. And also the way that, for example, Mel, she's hearing all this and she's acting like she's been around this for ages, when like you would think that someone would be like, oh, there's mermaids. Like, she's acting like she knows this stuff already exists. So maybe this happened off screen. Maybe she did her research before, but it's just crazy that the charmed ones they don't really seem that, interested that all these creatures exist now. But it's just inconsistent, because if you're going to watch all the seasons together, and let's face it, most people are going to binge watch it, they're going to be like, what the heck? Because
Yeah.
it's such a dramatic change in tone. I like it. I wish season 2 and 3 was more like this. I would have loved to have a full season of whatever season 4 is going to be, because so far I'm liking it a lot. I'm feeling like this is making me really sad, because I actually really like the show now. I'm gonna just outright say it now. I love season 4. I really like the reboot. I stand the reboot now. And I'm actually really sad this could be the last season, or it might be ending soon. with, you know, maybe season 5. I'm just upset we're not getting like full 22 episode seasons anymore.
Yeah, but just think what they could have done with like 22 episodes.
I know it's such a bummer because season 2 and 3 could have it they really should have done these storylines in season 2. And they work too. If you go back and watch season 1 and skip 2 and 3, aside from Macy dying, tonally it fits perfectly because that's the direction they were going at the end of season 1 with the magical community.
Yeah. Um, so this episode we got to see, I guess the villain in this episode was the Tally Man.
I'm surprised they showed him this early. I know they did show a glimpse of him in previous episodes, and I think last week when they showed him, I I didn't know for sure if that was supposed to be him. I thought maybe it could have been one of his henchmen or something, but this episode confirmed that that man is actually the Tally Man. And it also confirmed several things about him. What do you think?
So I was a little bit surprised when they said what he was.
They said he's a gremlin. Do you think he was? So we find that out because Mel, part of the spa, lets people relive their happiest memories. And Mel was chasing the Tally Man into that area of the spa, and she got to see his so-called happiest memory, right? And she sees two young men who are both gremlins. One's older and he's guiding a younger guy, showing him that as a gremlin, they have the power over machinery to make them stop working. So he sticks his hand into what, a wood chipper?
Yeah, a wood chipper.
Yeah, something like that. He sticks his hand into a wood chipper that's like actually on and everything. It could chop up his hand, but because he's a gremlin, it doesn't hurt him. In fact, he actually makes it malfunction. So, and that actually is a nod, I believe, to the Twilight Zone, because there's a famous episode where there's this guy on a plane and he sees a gremlin on the outside messing with the plane's wings and wiring to make it crash. So gremlins are usually, it's like a folklore thing too, that if something's not working right, they say, oh, gremlin messed with it. But back to what I was saying, gremlins in the reboot, they mess with machinery. So he was teaching the younger guy how to properly do it, and then the younger guy couldn't get the hang of it, and he actually messed up his hand. My question is the Tally Man the older one or the younger one?
He's the younger one.
Do they confirm it?
I think he was the younger one. I can't remember, but I think he was the younger one.
Interesting.
And that was his brother. I thought the older one was kind of hot, but the
Yeah, I mean, I agreed. I was checking him out too. He looked familiar.
So obviously we got to see them go to this, what would you call it, Ripples, which is the spa. They go for like a relaxation day. And as the episode progresses, one of the, what would you call him, the staff members?
Yeah, the workers, the spa workers.
Yeah,
Robert, he's a satyr, I think.
he got killed.
I didn't like how they handled that.
Yeah, and then they just kind of, what's his name, Seymour?
No, and Arnold.
Oh, Arnold kind of dragged his body out, and that's how Mel found him. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, really.
I know. I didn't like that though. I didn't like that he was gonna do that, and I didn't like that they didn't really, that the charm ones really didn't make him answer for that, because that's kind of screwed up.
What? What?
Yeah.
Maybe the magical community has their own rules or whatever, but that's just kind of gross how he was just dragging his employees. He was just dragging Robert's body out in a garbage bag. It was, I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me, especially since the way he died was pretty brutal.
So, whilst Maggie and Mel are on their little vacation, Michaela is left in charge of the command center, and she's given the Book of Shadows and something else and some like seashell thing.
Oh, the conch.
Yeah, the conch, which apparently like she blows into or speaks into or something, and it like tells her when she's trying to communicate with her.
What did you think of that? Because I thought it was a little silly. I feel like they're doing a lot. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like the Sabrina sitcom.
It was stupid. It
But
was so
it
stupid.
it reminded me of the Sabrina sitcom. That's something that they would have done like in that episode. Like, oh, you want to give us a ring here? Call us on the conch or the conch or whatever. I call it conch. I'm surprised they called it conch this episode because I've only ever heard it pronounced conch, but I guess it's called conch.
So Michaela goes to the command center and
Oh, they show the Book of Shadows finally. It was the new version, but it exists. They still have the prop. It's still in the command center or still being used by the girls. What'd you think of that they showed the new Book of Shadows?
well, they didn't exactly show it. They showed the side of it.
No, they showed the
didn't
cover.
use-
They showed what's his name? What is the
Dev.
Yeah, they showed Dev looking at it, I think touching the cover or something. I wanted him to open it.
So Kayla's left in charge of the command center, and we see her there, and she does like a Titanic reference. She's like, "I'm the king of the world."
That's another reference they made. There's a lot of these little references all throughout season 4 if you pay attention. It's like I said, I think they're very aware of their audience that there's a lot of LGBT people watching the show as well as the original, and I think that this time around they're just like, let's just go for it. Let's make all these references. Let's just have fun with it. I think that's what they did.
Let's make all these references, except referring to the show that it's based on.
True.
That is really starting to annoy me now because I'm watching all these like episodes and they're making all these references, but they're not even bringing up like the original show at all. And that's really starting to annoy me because it's like in this episode we had, I think his name is JP, but he's the guy who played the merman actually was in the original Charmed, and he had a really funny scene. He was in the Day Magic Died, and that's like a big episode. He just played like a funny part in the episode, and I thought that they could have like referred to that or looked back on that because that was something that obviously happened. I wouldn't say it's a massive part, but it had a big part in the episode, and I think a lot of fans will remember that scene, and because it's funny. But they didn't even mention it, and they just went right over the writers' heads apparently.
They're probably not
Huh?
even allowed to.
Why wouldn't they be allowed to?
Maybe they're not even allowed to because could be something from up above. Maybe the studio or the right holders are just like they're only allowed to use the name only, and they're really not allowed to make references to the original until later. Like I do think there will be a connection, but it won't be till later in the season or maybe season 5. Because isn't that what Joey was teasing at as well?
Yeah, but if that's true, why did they do it in season 1?
Because I think season 1 started out with a certain plan and then they went completely a different direction. Because, like I said, the people who created the reboot, who pitched the reboot, were behind
Jane the Virgin.
Jane the Virgin. They were behind Jane the Virgin, and they weren't showrunners. They wrote the pilot, and I think they have stayed on as writers here and there, but their ideas I think just got abandoned. Even ideas that they were talking about in the original when they were promoting the show, they were at what, Comic-Con and doing panels. They mentioned but if you go back on YouTube, if you look for them and watch them, they talk about things that actually never happened. They even had I remember they were talking about doing an episode where there's a demonic Fitbit, and that was going to be like a Monster of the Week episode, but they never did it. I actually tweeted, I don't know if it was Jenny. There's 2 of them, Jenny and another one. But I forget which one I tweeted, but I actually tweeted myself. I tweeted one of them and I asked about that, and they said that it was abandoned, that it didn't happen. And there was a lot of things that didn't happen. So my personal guess is that they brought it to reality, and then somewhere along the line, when it started airing, they just decided to abandon a lot of the ideas they had, and just maybe Carter Covington decided things. Maybe he was the one that made those creative decisions as the showrunner. Um, Not to say his ideas weren't good, but they definitely weren't what we as the it wasn't what we were thinking it was going to be. Because if you
Mm.
watch the first few episodes, they have a certain tone to them, and then I would say around 5, 6, it started changing dramatically, and then it kind of didn't hold my interest as much until the end. But then, as ended up happening, season 2 and 3, complete shit show.
So we got the scene with, so Michaela basically messes up. She makes the witchboard glitch. And what does she go to, like the Blue Camellia for help?
I don't think she
Is
made it
that it?
glitch. I don't think she made it glitch. What happened is that she was messing around with her art, and without her being able to control it, one of her doodles came to life and flew around the room, and she slammed it on the table. But at the same time, the board lit up to let her know that Robert was about to be killed by the tally man. I think it was just a coincidence because that's when that happened. And because the everything was shaking or whatever, the conch fell off the table and broke. So since that was her only way to contact Mel, she goes to the Blue Camellia to see if someone there can help her. So she goes to look for Roxy, which is the owner, and that's also the woman that was talking to Harry, I think, last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's her name, Roxy. She was looking for Roxy, but the bartender kind of cockblocked her and told her, nope, not helping you. So that's when Dove magically appears and he's like, I'm here to help you. So as it turns out, he has a little crush on her and kind of stalls by revealing that he's a Gandharva, and he knows how to he explains himself as being a creature that has the power to control music and magic, I think, right? Like
I don't know.
his expertise is where music and magic meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he stalls for time and tries to flirt with her and like spend time with her. Meanwhile, she's freaking out about, the board, but he does help her master her power a little bit.
I love that scene where she was like doodling the cocktail glass and then it like came to life. But I thought that was good because rather than them saying, oh, she's immediately able to master her powers, she's still having problems with getting used to learning how to use them.
Mhm. Do you think they had good chemistry?
Not really. Did you?
I like the actor that played Dev. I recognize him from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which he did his own singing on that show, and he played kind of like this this bro type character that was just into getting girls, and similar to Dev, except Dev seems more charming and I guess more smooth, suave, whatever. I don't know if he'll be a romantic interest for Michaela, but I do think that it's not over. I think there will be maybe another episode where they have another crack at it
How about taking another crack at it?
before it ultimately doesn't really work out. Because I feel like what else can his character do? It just seems like this was all set up just for them to interact.
Yeah, I think the guy that plays him is decent. I think he's a
Yeah,
pretty good actor.
yeah, pretty solid
Um,
actor. So what did you think? Like, this episode had a lot of potion making and spells. What did you think of that?
I liked it. I liked
Same. So what do you think of them showing a little, they showed us a glimpse of how the tally man works. He goes into places, I mean, as himself, he just blends in with people and he leaves things behind to cause chaos. So we saw what he did is he locked Robert in the sauna and let him burn to death, or not burn to death. He let him suffocate with the heat, and then he put this rubber ducky in the spa fountain where the lily is and pollute the thing with evil or whatever, which I thought was a little silly.
He put it in the water and it this like black smoke, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like the most cringe.
It was camp. Like I said, it just felt like it was camp. It was shooting things, and then it was like the camera was cutting to people screaming because they got hit with the thorn, like falling to the floor. And like, for some reason they were just incapacitated, and that's it. It's like they just told these extras, run by this fountain and act like you got hit, then scream and fall to the floor. Like, it's just really, it reminded me of a Mad TV sketch. And then what else?
I died when they showed the rubber duck in the water. The scene of it floating along, I was like, oh my God, they need to put the music from Jaws in this scene. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they saved the day with a bunch of bath bombs.
They do a spell over the bath bombs, don't they? And then they like throw them in there.
I mean, it was pretty at least.
Well, at least we got to see them do a spell together. We got to see Kayla and Maggie do a little
Oh,
hocus pocus.
speaking of Maggie and Michaela, Michaela is the one that Maggie calls to pick her up from the police station. I like that she trusted Michaela enough to do that. It's starting to show that she is starting to bond with Michaela more, because obviously she did not want to, like, bring Harry or Mel into it.
She could have called Parker.
Ew. Anyway, so what do you rate this episode?
So I would rate this episode. So I'll give this 7.9 or an 8. Well, no, it's not worthy of an 8 because they missed the ball with certain parts. I thought they could have delivered a little bit more. So a 7.9. Yeah.
I give it a 7.
Oh.
It was good. I mean, it wasn't like the best, but it was really good.
Next week, we're going back in time. Are you excited for that?
Is that the traveling sandwich episode?
Yeah, the Sisterhood of the Time Traveling Sandwich.
What a stupid title.
And we're going to get to see Michaela sing, which should be interesting. Apparently everyone on this show can sing.
Maybe they'll do a musical episode soon.
And also, what did you... Oh, God, I hope not. The only musical show that I really enjoyed was Buffy. And I think she was the first person to actually do... or her show was the first episode of TV to actually do a musical episode. And she did it best. And I feel like they've had so many musical moments on the show already. I don't think I can put up with a whole episode of them singing. Unless it's really, really well written. But, who knows?
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back next week and review season 4, episode 5 of the reboot. Follow us on Twitter at PO2_podcast, and make sure to follow us on our Facebook page, Charmed News, where we post all things Charmed. Thanks for listening.
Bye.